wax medium. And it's for oil paint, it's not for acrylics. It's not particularly smelly. It smells obviously less, being zesty, it smells a bit orange and lemony. But it's Daymar varnish, I think, it's Daymar varnish, beeswax, Daymar and linseed oil. But it also has a slight whiff of lemon. Look at that.
What do you add it? You mix it into the paint?
Yes. Stick it on the side of your palette like that. Yeah. And use the knife. And you mix it in with your colours to make really thick impasto effects. It does dry quicker than oils. It will still take 4 or 5 days to dry if you put it on really thick. There is another product that you can buy, which I used when I was doing a big commission 2 years ago. I had a huge commission to do, and I had like a month for it to dry. I was like, you really don't understand this, do you? And I bought something called by Lucas. It's called Lucas Painting Butter. Get it from Jackson's, comes in a big 200ml tube for about £10. It's a very, very strong alkyd gel. Much stronger than alkyd oils. It will dry your paints in less than 24 hours. You can mix it 50-50 and it doesn't discolour the colour, it dries clear. Wonderful stuff. One slight problem, it's very toxic. If you don't have the windows open when you're painting, and I mean windows and a breeze blowing through, it's not great. It might make your eyes run or whatever. It made me feel a bit woozy because I couldn't read the instructions properly when I was using it. Of course not. The real danger is if you finish your painting, and because I now have my own art studio, because we weren't going to move, so we decided I'm not going to spend the money on outside art surgery, I'm just going to take that out the ice and buy a studio instead. And if I die, I die. So I thought, I'll build a studio. And at one end is like the studio, the art bit, and at the other end is the office bit. What I was doing was I was painting in the morning, leaving my painting on the easel, going down to the other end of the studio, which is only like, 30 feet, 10, maybe 5 feet away, on the computer all afternoon. Breathing in the fumes of the painting as the painting is drying. It's a coldish day, so you've only got the little transom window open. So you're not in a properly ventilated room. And that made me feel quite woozy. And that was not good. So although it's a wondrous product,
so I die.
I would say be very careful. You've got to have a good reason to use it. It's probably better to use a cold wax medium and wait for a week. But I was on a commission for an interior designer for a hotel, and they needed it, and the deadline was done, and if it wasn't dry, done, varnished by that date, all held. So I used a whole tube on a big painting, but I didn't read the instructions properly. RTFI. The other thing is, the cold wax medium, when you mix it with colour, it will go matte. So the colour, because it's wax, it will turn your paint, that area of the paint will dry matte. And it looks matte when you put it on. Fine, because when the whole picture is dry, you're going to varnish it, aren't you? You will varnish it with, and I use retouching varnish, a lot of us use retouching varnish, because retouching varnish, you can paint over it and then varnish it again. Ordinary full gloss varnish, you shouldn't put oil paint on top once it's on it, and it seals the surface. So your paint has got to be bone dry with oil varnish, but if you use retouching varnish, it's breathable. So if the painting isn't 100% dry underneath, it doesn't matter. I don't know why anybody uses anything other than retouching varnish. So I've got that to use a bit later on. The first thing I'm going to do, and I might even use it on the side bit, is I'm going to mix up some highlight. I'm going to start to bring some light back into this sky. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to work down the painting. A sandy pink. Can you hear me? Sorry? No. No, you can't hear me. It's all right. No, it's fine. I'm going to work down that. No, actually, before I do that, we're going to put some. You're going to say, what about these waves? There's no sea on this picture. Yes, it's seascape. It's just done now. I've got a little flat brush here. It's got a tiny. This brush here is a tiny number 2 flat. So get some keen spirit. Ooh, something. I'm going to put this seam on and work this up so that we've got it finished, more or less. Well, that hill's just got a bit bigger. Oh well, we'll just make the whole lot bigger than that will do. Right. Because what I want to do here is, first of all, take some quite Because when you're painting small waves, they've got, you've sort of got a backwash and use a bit yellow in there, that's purple, put a bit of maple yellow in it. Here, I'm going to put in that line and another line in there, and a line, and you'll think, what the devil should do with these lines? So a bit more blue. I'll try and do it so you can see what's going on. But then, yeah, that's all right. And then you can get purple in there, and you think, well, that was a bit odd. Right. And having put the dark backwash lines in, I'm going to take what I've mixed, which is a sort of, it's not white, it's cream. It's almost a sort of lighter cream that's in the sky. Because what I want to do here is put on some foam. Now, I don't think, because it's not a very big wave, I don't think necessarily need wax in this bit. That's quite a big wave, actually. And then that's coming in there. And then this one's got a little bit of a ridge coming over there. And it sort of comes down as a wave, and then splashes up a bit at the bottom. And then hopefully that looks a bit like a backwash on it. And then we've got another little bit coming over here. I do a whole painting where I do just very big waves, but that's not this one. This is a different demo, so you're not getting a big wave. You're getting a little wave. Just bring that in, and that's again slightly backwashy. And then this has got more. But all of this foam that's going on here is creamy. It's actually mixed with a tiny bit of cadmium red and yellow, warm yellow and white. Warm yellow. I'm actually using azo yellow. Azo yellow and cadmium are pretty much the same, except azo yellow is a synthetic version. And it's what I put in the box today. So just go on there. But can you see how that sort of hopefully just brings this to life with this? But it's not pure white, and it's not too bright. How's it looking? I can't see it from there. Ah, yeah, that's all right. Right, give me marks, it is. Is that perfect? Didn't know I was that good.
No, the colours are a bit more muted. The colours on there are more muted.
They're much more muted, but you can see the brushwork and the detail.
You can see what you do.
And you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. And actually, and this little flat brush for small waves is quite good because you can just put a little tiny, and it has got a pure flat end, whereas the other brushes don't, they've got the roundness. I don't think there needs to be much more done on that bit, I don't think. I think what we've got now is a little bit of light coming over that sea in the distance over there and over there. Just put a bit of light in it because we've got this sun to put in, haven't we? Who thought it was a good idea to take the sun in? Yeah, I did, yes. Sneezing's all right. I was away on holiday a couple of weeks ago. I actually do get holidays occasionally, and when I go on holiday, I always put sketchbooking, but I rarely. The plan is not to paint because, and actually we went to the Dolomites. Went skiing. I haven't been skiing for 5 years because I couldn't go skiing during COVID, and then I sort of got out and didn't go. My husband went skiing, and he wanted me to go, and I was thinking maybe I'll go. I'm sure I'm getting a bit old now. And well, we drove to Italy. We drove to Corvara, and because he hasn't got his company car anymore, because he's now retired, we had to take my car. And he moaned like, I don't know about taking my car. No, I don't know if it's going to make it, and I'm not sure. Because, you see, I've got a little Honda Civic. It's not like the big wafty BMW we used to have, you know, it's a Honda Civic. Holds more stuff, actually, packed up more stuff. And I said, well, it's done quite a few miles, I wonder if it'll make it. We had this really little adventure. Because it took 2 days to get there and 2 days to get back, which is lovely. But it's already done 112,000 miles, my car. I've had it a while. And I took it to my new garage, and I said to him, and it actually turned out he'd been skiing this week, so he was a real ski fan. And he said, oh, that'll be fine, don't worry, I'll do you some extra survey, and I'll check the coolant, and I'll check blah, blah. And he did, he checked an awful lot of extra things that he wouldn't normally do. And he just turned around to me, and excuse my language, he said, I'd far rather take that Civic than that heap of shit.
And what he was referring to was a quite new Range Rover. He said, they're so complicated, he said, that'll never make it to Essie. He said, yours will be fine. I'm sure it would have made it to Essie, but he said it's got so much wrong with it. And it was only 7 or 8 years old, I'm about 13 years old. And it was quite funny. So I've actually bought him a bottle of Italian Red because it did go and it did perform extremely well and we did fix it at the last minute. So I'm thinking, I think I owe him one. I think I better go in there and say, by the way, thanks very much. But I didn't paint at all that trip because we did a bit of skiing and then I got myself ill, which was stupid. I think it was muscle poisoning. I think actually it might have been this. Someone said there's this norovirus going around. This sort of sick virus. Well, I was sick for 3 days. Do anything. Mind you, I had a very nice hotel to relax in the pool. Wasn't that bored? There are worse places to be in, like at home when you're left on your own, isn't there? Can you see how that's just giving it a lovely drift? But we've now got to come to say that I want to bring some of the light into the sky and in here, which I'm still using pen. I'm wondering whether we might. I'm going to take some white and a little bit of lemon yellow and maybe a touch of white. No, I think we'll just do the white for now because here, somewhere on this photograph, I don't think we need to be there. There. I think what you need, you just need a blob. Smudge it a bit, but not smudge it too much. You know, like you're going to do a blob that you're not meant to do in a circle, but you're meant to do a suggestion that the sun is there. I don't know. Sometimes you do this, you go, don't you, and it's marvellous. And other times you do that, it's rubbish. You try again. Is this going to work? There's no great technique to this. It's a sort of, it's a suck it and hope. Too big. Too big. Too big. Last go, 3rd time lucky. No, 4th time lucky. Just want to give it a little blob. Just a suggestion that there might be something there, and then there's some quite strong gold, and it is more gold coming down, so I think probably we need the cadmium yellow deep and white, and quite a lot of cadmium yellow deep in there. And I'll just bring that down there, and down there, and just see if that's going to just rub that. It needs to be more orange. Just doesn't feel right. I think the reason it needs to be more orange is, yeah, I think I've spoiled it. You can always rub it down. I'm standing in front of it deliberately so you can't see what you're doing. It's very important to stand in front of things when you're demonstrating so people can't see. And the actors think, well, that's really rubbish. Yeah, I know it's really rubbish, but we're just working on it. Can we step back a bit? No, it needs to be smaller than more purple. That needs to come in a bit to there and there, and then that will shine a bit more. That's better, I think. Yeah, that'll be better. Make that a bit more purple, make that a bit darker. Make that a bit lighter. Make that a bit lighter. And hope. And just soften that. Just a bit of, it's not bad. Not bad for a demonstration and all those people getting looking at what I'm doing. To be honest, what's interesting sometimes is I find it's, and this sounds a bit odd, but it's sometimes easier when you've got an audience to paint because you get it right. And you can't crack around and say, well, I just go and get a coffee or I just have a think about it. When you've got all the time in the world, I find my paintings are rubbish. They're much better when I'm a bit under pressure. Whether it's because there's a deadline at the gallery or there's something I just think I'll just get on with it and stop faffing about. Because it's very easy to faff about. It's a bit like, there is an element that says you should paint outside quite a bit because you've only got an hour before the rain, in fact you've got half an hour before storm doodah comes in and blows you off the mountainside.
The light changes.
And the light changes, and you've got an hour really, there's about 2 or 3 hours on location. You haven't, you've got about an hour and a bit. So you just work small, work fast, get it all on, get in the car, get home.
Yes.
And then you can take that and all the energy that's in that little scruffy little painting that you did that's not really very good, you try transferring that energy onto the bigger canvas. But again, do it fairly quickly. Don't faff around. See, I think that's that's nice. I'm quite happy with that. And I'm quite happy with this bit of work. I might just get a little bit more texture on here. Maybe take a bit of ultramarine blue and a bit of, not ultramarine, a bit of raw umber and just put a little bit more texture into that under there. I've spoiled that a bit. Oh, you can take that out. Just put it in there. That'll do. That'll do. Yeah, that's too much. Now I need it a bit dark. I want a bit too much light, too much highlight on it, because that's. Just put that dark back in a bit. That'll be right. Right. So, now what I want to do is work on the sky. And the bottom. What time do we finish? 9:30. 9:30. Do I actually finish painting at 9:30? Sorry? Sorry? No, I just want to know so I know how quickly to work. 9:15 to finish painting. Okay, right. What I'm going to do first, in that case, is I'm going to do these dunes and then I'm going to go into the sky, because the dunes are more interesting. And if we miss anything out, the sky doesn't get quite as finished, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to take some wax, mix it into my dune colour. Now, somebody's saying, what colour's the sand? It depends. And that isn't really the right answer you want. But this sand is quite light at the front, even though it's an evenish light, because the sand's much drier. You can use the sand, Naples yellow and white, Naples yellow buff titanium and white. You can put a bit of raw umber in it to make it that cool, browny, creamy colour. A lot of people will use burnt sienna and white and a bit of yellow ochre in it. I find yellow ochre can be a bit of a dead colour, can be a bit overused. I've taken it off my palette. I've got a tube somewhere, but I don't use it very often. Or in this case, I'm actually using the cadmium red and cadmium yellow deep, which I never used to use. And that's been a sort of post-COVID thing, really. I've sort of gone much more primary. I've had cadmium red on my palette for a while, and I haven't really, and I never used to use it, and I didn't use much lemon yellow. I used to use yellow ochre or sienna, and then I was up there. See, look how, can you see how dramatic that is? Look at that, it's like pacing on me. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, you don't, well, maybe you don't anymore, but I used to make a Christmas cake, maybe you put it there. I need to decorate it. Merry Christmas on the lovely
So
smooth
when you
stuff.
use the wax, does it kind of give it more texture?
It gives it a massive amount of more texture. Come and have a look. Come
Yeah,
close and have a look.
yeah.
And you think, oh, well, I'll just do this beautiful, I'll write Merry Christmas, or you do the, and then you get halfway through it, and you know it's not going well. So you just think, stuff it, I'll just do snow. Yeah, and that's what we do with this. It's like putting on snow. I'm going to take a little bit of cerulean blue and mix a pale blue, not quite that dark, wax. Put more wax in it. I reckon you can probably do about 50-50 wax. I might even put a little bit of, I think I'm going to stick to that cerulean. I quite like that's quite nice, that colour. Now this is where the knife, those of you that bought brushes and think, oh, she's using a knife. Oh yeah, you can do it. So the knife comes into its own. That's my soft sand. Then I want to mix. Now, can you remember what colour I used to mix these greens with? Were you paying attention earlier?
Did you say cerulean?
No, not really.
Is it cerulean?
I used cerulean blue, and I used mainly the cadmium yellow deep.
What did she mix the green?
Someone was listening, you see. Not everyone, but some of it. And then I put a bit of white in it. And we've got quite a sea green. I'm going to add a load of texture. I'm also going to layer alongside that some Naples yellow. I know why this Naples yellow is different. It's because it's not my colour. It's Naples yellow and it's a mutant colour. And it's not the same pigment as the one we mix ourselves. Aha, that's the difference. Just show you this. Naples yellow is one of those colours. There's a million different versions of it. That's Naples yellow deep Winter Newton. That's the Naples yellow deep that we made. Quite different, aren't they? The Winter Newton one has got interesting. Chromium titanium oxide, PBR24. It's got a brown in it.
Oh, that's white.
Mine has got red, yellow and white in it. So interesting. Right, I'll use mine then. I'll use mine and I'll put water in it.
cleaner. That other one looks too dark. Yeah? Yeah, that's cleaner. That'll do. The thing about paint is, I mean, I could go on and on about paint, and I'd bore you, would you? But the thing is that the people who make these paints are colour chemists, they're not artists. So they're into it for a different reason than we are. And also, you don't need to be a chemist as such, but you do need to understand a bit about the colour that your colours are used now. Use that? I can't remember. What did I make? Oh God, what's that colour now? No, it's much more blue. Let me that. A lot more actually blue, and I've run out of wax. So clean your knife before sticking it in your wax. Otherwise you'll end up with blue wax or purple wax, and it will be the same colour. You want clean wax. So make sure you put a clean knife in there. And generally I would use a knife for applying wax, because otherwise it very quickly gets it just ruins your brush. Well, it's good for me, so you need to buy a new one, but it's not really good, you know. Just a little bit of extra dark in there. That's ultramarine blue and cadmium yellow deep and wax. Just a little bit in there. It's getting quite messy. I could have done with bringing a frame, but I haven't got a frame with me. Mainly because the frame that I was going to put this in is being repainted. I've learned to do as I'm told over the years when it comes to framing, because the gallery that I work with, the Way Gallery, they have a lot of contemporary art in there as well as mine. So mine's quite relatively traditional compared to some of them. And it's a lot of it is in a smooth white frame of different sizes. You think, oh, big white frames. Well, I had a painting in there. I think that's done now. I'll just put a little green on there, and then I'll get these flowers in. And these flowers are different, the leaves are a different shape, but they're a similar colour. I'm just going to put some little blobs of, I've got that colour. Put some flower blob colours in there, maybe a bit of blue in there. And I said, I've got a picture that was in a frame. It's in the brochure actually, and it's sold out. And it was in a slightly distressed white, like a sort of beachcomber white wood, and an inner slip. And it's a seascape of West Wittering. Big picture, 2 by 3 foot. And I thought it looked great, this frame, and my friend thought it looked great, this frame. And it was in the gallery, and they loved it. They said, oh yeah, we will sell that, don't worry, we really like it. It's West Wittering, it's beautiful. They couldn't bloody sell it. In about 3 months it wasn't selling. And in the end she said, Julie, who's the main one for contemporary, she knows her abstracts and that. She said to me, paint the frame flat white. Take it home, just do it the flat white, get rid of any of the marks on it, and give it a month and bring it back.
Well, did it look distressed? Was it like a distressed?
Yeah, like a distressed finish. But it was lovely. Well, I thought it was a bit of beach scene, No. So I'm just going to put some pink, and not so much pink on there. I think that's probably enough pink. There's actually not pink on there. So we took it back to the gallery just before Christmas. Went in about end of November. 2 weeks later, sold it.
Oh no.
So B&Q, rust oleum, chalk white furniture paint, and chalk white furniture wax. Get a tin of each. And all my frames that are slightly dirty or slightly not quite white, 2 coats of white paint, let them dry in between. At least 1 coat of wax, because the wax, sometimes 2 coats of wax, it makes a big difference, it gives them a nice professional finish.
It's a different wax than what you use for your paint, eh?
Oh God, yeah. You go to B&Q, you go to, no, don't buy B&Q's own brand, buy the Rust Oleum brand.
Furniture wax.
And it's furniture paint and furniture wax.
Yeah.
And and all my paints. I've just ordered 3 more frames from Easy Frame. Because I go to Easy, do you go to Easy Frame? Online, easyframe.co.uk. All one word, easyframe.co.uk. So there's another one that isn't as good. And you can buy any kind. The glazed frames are the glazed with perspex. So if you've got watercolourish, you can get them, but you can't get glass transported.
No.
There's loads of instructions on how to measure a picture and do all sorts of frames.
Standard, I mean, obviously buying in bulk, so they don't have a massive range, they do have a fair range. And what I've done there now is I'm buying their, I'm buying their, instead of buying their pre-painted white one, a bit more light up into here now.
What's the name of the thing? Easy Frame.
Easy Frame.
Easy Frame.
All one word, easyframe.co.uk. And it's a website, it's huge. And there's loads of instructions on there as to how to measure your picture, if it's a canvas, if it's on a board, what kind of frame you can put it in, you can get a sunk, you can get a box frame, you can get all sorts. But what I've just done, I'm just going to put a little, see, I'm just putting a bit more light blue back into here to try and lift that a bit. They came this morning, well they came, I'm talking about just before I set off to Banstead, they came about 12 o'clock. I've actually bought plain wood, natural wood, because the white one that I liked was 120 quid for this great big frame, and I needed 3 of them, and I thought, what a money. But there was a very similar frame that's a little bit flatter, but it's natural wood, unvarnished wood. So, and they were £45 each, the same size. So £45 plus 2 days of me with my decorating brush on it. And because I like to budget, if I supply a picture frame, I don't really want the frame to cost more than about £50 or £60. Otherwise it really starts to impact on the price of the picture. And if it's not framed, it doesn't look as finished. I've had them on box frames have been quite trendy for a while and they've gone off. And all of a sudden, I've noticed when I've been in the gallery, virtually everything now is all of a sudden it's framed. I mean, 8 or 9 months ago, there was an awful lot of stuff on box frames that wasn't, and they were selling. They're not now. And I looked at some of mine that were unframed in the gallery, and I thought, they don't look as important. And the ones they've sold have all been framed. So I'm now making sure I've got some frames. So, and the other secret with framing, retail framing is very expensive. Well, A, it doesn't need to be prepared to do a bit of work. If you go down a charity shop and find a really nice shaped frame, buy it, sand it, paint it.
That's right.
If you're painting in oils, you can always paint. If you're saying, "Oh, I haven't got a standard, it's not a standard size," paint on MDF. I mean, especially in the Wessex pictures in Leatherhead, they will pre-cut specific sizes, or you can buy a pack of 60 by 20s or whatever. And you can always cut it down a bit. Prime 2 coats of gesso minimum on your MDF, and then what you do is you've got your bespoke framing, you've got your, what's one colour? And then if you're painting on standard sizes, have a smallish one and a biggish one. Choose a size that you like. I mean, I tend to paint, this 18 by 22 is my smaller size. I've got some slightly smaller ones. I've got about 4 sizes. So I've got 14 by 18, 18 22, 20 by 30, and 24 by 36, which is pretty big. But I've probably got 1 or 2 frames of each size. So if you have 2 sizes, you paint, I don't know, 20, 24 inch, quite a nice big picture, a bit bigger than this, and maybe even a 16 by 12, small one. Buy 1 frame of each size to start with, until you sell it. Or if you want, you might have 2 frames of each size. So every time a club exhibition comes around, you've got a frame that you can put on your picture, and if it's a very neutral, possibly a light wood, but preferably probably a white or an off-white, you can then put that in. It will probably look fine on whichever picture you put it on. You know, you can slop it in, send it to the exhibition, looks fabulous, sells, great, doesn't sell, bring it home. Don't know what's wrong with this picture, it's just not selling. Take it out of its frame. If it's on board, then what you can do with that is you can get some tape. I buy black mount board, cheap off-cut mount board, and I stick my board, oil painting, on the mount board, so it's got a big nice black border, or coloured board, not white, because it stands out more. Cellophane wrap it, put it in the browser. You know, with a slightly cheaper price on it, and see what happens. So there's lots of hints and tips to help you.
that shouldn't cost too much money. You might have to put a little bit of money out for 2 or 4 frames. But when you have an exhibition, how many pictures do you all exhibit at a time? 2, 4, maybe at the most?
We normally do 4.
Sorry?
We normally do 4 each.
Yeah, you normally do 4. Okay, so get 4 frames
And then just swap them around.
and swap them. Yeah. I'm not going to do any more to this now. I'm quite happy with it. I think it's all right. Shake it in, let it dry. See what happens. Because I think that that's going to look nice. I'm not so sure about how much light is put on the sky, but I'm fiddling. And when you start fiddling, that's usually, I mean, they could put a little bit more cloud just in there, a tiny bit. But I think, to be honest, I'm probably going to spoil it.
Yeah.
So I think at this stage, it's ready to dry. And then put it in the studio for a while. It's quite handy. I mean, I know I'm lucky, and it's because it's a full-time, I have now got a proper studio space. I always used to use the back bedroom, and that was a complete studio space. But it's nice having it down the garden, because you can sort of open the windows and leave it and come back. So, especially now husband's retired, because he's now moved in, he seems to take out the entire house. You know, I don't know, there's a lot less space now, isn't there? So I would say have somewhere where a little shelf like that, or what I asked them to do in their building, which I shouldn't have done, to put 2 battens of picture rails on one back wall. So I've got one at about 5 foot, one at about 3 foot. And I know there's cupboards, so there's not that much. But it means you can get the big brass hooks, and you can just move them around. So when I'm painting, I don't think I've got it on this picture, no I haven't, but usually, before I start painting, I put 2 screw holes in the back, and I put a hanging string on the back of the frame. I screw it into the, if it's a canvas, I mean, you can't do this with a ball, but if it's a canvas, screw it into the back of the frame. So it's got a string on it already, so that when you paint it and it's wet, you can pick it up wet, especially if there's a deep edge one, I might even take the edge of the stuff here. You can pick it up and gingerly hang it on a hook or on whatever. Or if it's on a board, just have a couple of deskies, table easels, stood somewhere where hopefully the cat or whatever won't knock it over. And so you can just lift it on there, just put it on there and leave it for a few days. Not only to dry, but also so you can stand back and look at it. So most of the pictures that are on the wall of the studio are not finished. And even the ones that are finished, look at that, it's no good, I'm going to have to alter that. After about a week or a fortnight, you get to that stage, don't you? So hopefully, I've given you a bit of an insight into oil painting and the works and how to manipulate the paint. I think my sky might need a bit more work, but it's working okay at the moment, so I'm going to... It's like, we've done the first blocking in, we've done the first bit of detailing. You can over-detail it, because it's quite a complicated, it's quite a fussy sky. For instance, on this particular beach, we're not going to have any figures. Because if you put figures, reflections, active sky, I'm almost wondering if there's a little bit too much going on in the dunes. It all gets a bit busy. And then your eye starts fitting all over the place. So I think that's probably needs leaving, drying, look at it in about a week's time. Almost, there's something quite good about not looking at it for a few days.
I was going to say, you were talking about putting them up, but isn't it better to actually not look at it for a few days?
Yeah, but I'm putting them up in the shed down the garden.
Right, so you
Put them somewhere where you're not going to be seeing them every day, but put them somewhere where they can kind of dry off in peace, and you can go back in the next time you're able to paint. If you've got, I mean, I know you don't always have a lot of space, so it's almost a question of finding maybe a cabinet in the spare bedroom that you can just put one little table easel on, and just stand it on there and leave it. You know.
It's when you come back fresh and you see.
It's surprising when you stand back. I mean, people do hold up in front of a mirror, and that gives you another perspective.
Or look at it upside down.
Or even taking pictures.
Or take a photograph of it. Yeah, a mirror's quite good sometimes. Some people turn it upside down. I never understand that. I can't do it. It doesn't seem to work for me, but it does for some. So I think whatever works for you, but a fresh pair of eyes 2 or 3 days later is usually quite good. And if you're really struggling with it, once it's dry, take it to your art club
and do that very dangerous thing of asking your fellow artists, what do you think's wrong with this? They will tell you. You might not like what you hear, but they will tell you, usually in their uncertain terms. Now I've got all this mess on here. I'm going to clean all that area off with the palette knife, and including that bit of wax. I'll scrape all that off, so there will be a bit to throw away. So that's got quite a big lump. Scrape all that off. That will go in the bin, that amount of it. And there's quite a bit, so that will go in the bin. I'll get a white one here and clean that off, so that I've now got a nice fresh painting surface for the next time I paint. In fact, because I'm not demonstrating again next week, I'll probably go home tomorrow or Saturday. I might even take those lumps of paint off and put them on my studio easel, because I've now got that stupidly posh situation where I've got two palettes. So this stays in the box, and what I tend to do is, if I'm not going to use it for a week, I do then take these lumps off, but I put them on the palette that I'm working on the studio, so it'll get used up in the next few days. But that can go back in the box, and the box will hold it with the lid above it, so it won't spill. So that's quite handy, because that's a box easel. Or you could even have a tray, if you've got something with a lid on, that you can just, put your palette in, and then put it in the car or whatever with a lid on it, so like a big long flat sandwich box. Or if you've got a tear-off palette, then you can just tear it off and throw it away and say, well, I'm only going to put small blobs out because I know I'm not going to, at the end of this painting session, whatever's left is going to get thrown away. So in that case, you wouldn't put as much paint out. But on the other hand, it's quite nice to have a generous blob of paint, because there is the element of it that if you put a mean blob of colour out, you end up with a mean-looking painting, because you're a bit worried about using the paint and squirting a bit more out. That's why I quite like teaching when I provide the paint, because I can go around and say, well, you're not putting enough paint on, and they just squirt another big blob out, and they've already paid for anyway as part of the course, so use it. Or go to get some vernissage and great art. And when you think about it, okay, 8 colours, make it say 10 colours, if it's £8.60, that's £86 on paint, which seems a lot of money. You are getting a hell of a lot of paint for that. Every tube is 200 ml. So if you say, well, I'm going to just buy my 4 or 5 key colours, and it's on offer at £6.50, you're getting a lot. You might buy your white, your ultramarine blue, you probably buy lemon yellow to get through that, and you might buy your 2 primers, you might buy a cerulean and ultramarine. And other colours, you think, well, I'm not going to use much red, and I'm not going to use much brown. You might then get a different brand. I always buy their titanium white, and I do tend to buy a couple of other colours. In ultramarine blue I get through loads of, and I do tend to use quite a bit of yellows, so I get through those, I buy those. It seems like a lot, but actually, the last white I bought from Windsor Newton was 18 quid for a 22 foot, and now I've just paid £6.50. You just think,
So sorry, what was the name of the paints that you got for £6.50?
You go to the Great Art website, you must put in vernissage oil, VERNISSAGE. If you just put in oil colour, they don't promote their own very much, because they're trying to sell everyone else's brand at VERNISSAGE. Go to shut up now, and let Rose take over. She's coming for a week.
I've only come for a sniff. It just left up to me to say an absolute huge thank you to Melanie tonight for a fascinating, interesting demo, and also a demonstration of speed painting. I don't think I've seen anything like this produced in such a short time. And also for those incredibly helpful practical hints that people don't ask about but wonder how. Little things like storing the painting, putting them on shelves and everything. So if you'd all like to